In this video, let's take a look at the Wasychek model for determining the credit risk capital for a portfolio of loans. This topic, Wasychek model, is important both for FRM Part 1 candidates and also for FRM Part 2 candidates. Let's begin by taking a look at the aim of this model. The aim is to arrive at the credit risk capital. Let's focus on those cases wherein the default correlation between any two credits or any two loans in your loan portfolio is a number between 0 and 1. If default correlation takes on a value 0, or for that matter takes on a value 1, for those extreme cases, the modeling is rather simple. You don't really need to actually use a model such as the Wasychek model. Okay? Now, let me assume that the credit risk capital that I am after is computed using VAR. This VAR is computed at a chosen level of significance alpha and a chosen horizon, which is usually 1 year. If I have access to the distribution of my portfolio losses, then VAR is simply the difference, or let's say the horizontal distance between a quantile or a worst case loss L star and the expected loss EL. Okay, so if I do have access to my loss distribution, EL is simply the mean of this distribution. L star is a quantile loss which is picked in such a way so that the area underneath this PDF to the right of L star is equal to alpha. Okay, my chosen level of significance. All I'm saying is that L star is that threshold loss, the probability of whose being exceeded is equal to alpha. Now, the problem is that I don't really know my loss distribution for the entire portfolio. Okay, I have to arrive at this loss distribution, and from this loss distribution find the distance between the L star and the EL, and this is where the Wasychek model comes and helps us. Okay, the attraction of this model is that it helps us arrive at the L star and the EL, specifically the L star, in a very analytically tractable way. Okay, we don't have to really go on to the computationally intensive Monte Carlo simulation technique to work out our L star. Okay, now let's do this. Let's break down our discussion, our analysis of the Wasychek model into 5 steps. In step 1, let's begin with the default distribution of each of my N credits or N loans in my loan portfolio. For each of these credits, let me have a random variable, let's call it x sub I, a discrete random variable which I use to record whether my ith credit has defaulted or survived. Okay, so 2 possible outcomes. If xi takes on a value 1, and this happens with, let's say, a probability of PD sub I, then the ith credit is said to have defaulted. Okay, x taking on a value 1 means default. The probability of this happening, I am saying, let it be PD sub I. X taking on a value 0 means survival. The probability of that happening, let it be 1 minus PD sub I. Very quickly, I can do this. I can actually plot the PMF, the probability mass function of this xi, using a plot that looks something like this. 2 possible outcomes, 0 and 1, with their associated probabilities or probability masses. To make my analysis simpler, let me do this. Let me map each of these discrete random variables xi, where I goes from 1 to n, individually to continuous random variables. Let me call them ui. Again, I runs from 1 to n. Each of these ui's individually let them follow the standard normal distribution. Okay, so n0, 1. Let me now do this. Let me plot the standard normal distribution for, let's say, ui. On the horizontal axis, which denotes different possible values of this ui, let me locate a threshold number. Let me call it lowercase ui star. Okay. Now, to understand, what this ui star would mean, let's first of all attach some kind of an interpretation to this ui. Think of ui to be a shock. If this shock to the ith credit is large and negative, then such a shock can push this ith credit into the state of default. Okay, and I am looking for that threshold value of the shock such that if ui, the random value of shock, is worse than this ui star, which means is on the left of this ui star, I would deem that shock to be large enough to send the ith credit into the state of default. Okay, so these shocks have a magnitude which is big enough, these shocks are negative enough to send the ith credit into the state of default. Okay, these shocks are not that strong to send the ith credit into a state of default. Okay, so these values denote default, these values denote survival. Okay, now how do I determine this ui star? I want the probability of default to be equal to PDI. That means for the standard normal distribution, I want this area underneath the standard normal distribution to be equal to PDI. Okay, therefore I can very easily locate this ui star using the inverse CDF of my standard normal distribution. Ui star would simply be equal to the inverse CDF evaluated for or at PDI. Okay, so this is my step 1. I have mapped individually the xi's to the ui's, and for each of the n credits I have located the appropriate threshold number ui star based on the PDI of each of these n credits. Okay, now come to step 2. In step 2, let's acknowledge this, that shocks that can send any given credit into a state of default can either come externally, come from a source which is more external. They can come from a source which is common to all credits. Let that source therefore be a systematic risk factor, a general risk factor. Let's denote it by F. Shocks can come from within also. Okay, and let that be denoted by, an internal shock, be denoted by Zi. See, there is no subscript for F because it's a common risk factor across my n credits. My internal risk factors, my specific risk factors, they are indeed carrying this subscript of which credit, which loan I am referring to. Okay, so I'm saying that let ui, which is a shock, be driven by F and Z. It's a linear combination of F, a general risk factor, and Z, a specific risk factor. Individually, let F and Z be standard normal distributed, and I have, attached weights to the F and the Zi, which are intelligently chosen so that ui, it also comes out to have the standard normal distribution, something which I have already assumed in my step 1. Okay, so the weight attached to F is ai, the weight attached to Zi is square root of 1 minus ai squared. Please note that for this weight to be defined, it should be the case that ai should take a value between -1 and 1. Otherwise, this weight cannot be defined. It will be a square root of a negative number then. Okay. Now, very quickly, few more assumptions. Zi and Zj. Okay, specific risk factors for the ith credit and the jth credit, they are uncorrelated. Okay, so specific risk factors for any two credits in your portfolio, they will be uncorrelated. Correlation between F and Zi will be 0. F and Zi, they are uncorrelated. Based on these assumptions, you can very easily work this out that Ui and F, the correlation between these two will simply be equal to Ai. Correlation between any two UIs, you can also work this out, will simply be equal to the product of their respective A's. Okay, so this is my step 2. I have imposed on UI a one-factor model, a single factor, which is F. Now let's come to step 3. In this step, I'll be making an assumption which in practice can be defended if, let's say, I am working with a portfolio of retail loans, or for that matter, a portfolio of, let's say, credit card receivables. Let me assume that it's a portfolio which is very well diversified, which indeed retail portfolios and credit card receivable portfolios are. Very well diversified means that there is no concentration risk, there is no lumpiness in my portfolio. Very well diversified means that the portfolio is infinitely granular. Okay, every loan in this portfolio is a very tiny component of the entire portfolio. If I am restricting myself to a well diversified portfolio, what it means is that specific risk factors stop playing an important role as far as your loss distribution is concerned, the distribution which we are after. Therefore, in a well-diversified portfolio, the risk factor which takes a center stage is F, the systematic risk factor. Because of making this assumption and bringing F, the systematic risk factor, to the center stage, I have two possible benefits. Number one, if F is solely determining my losses, my loss distribution, then I can map different values of L, my portfolio loss, to different values of F, my systematic risk factor. Therefore, by implication, I can also map the L star which I am after to a certain threshold number, let's call it F star. Okay, I've already told you L star is that loss which would leave an area alpha to its right, which means that losses which are worse than L star, their probability of happening is alpha. When would a loss happen which is worse than some L star? Okay, worse losses will happen when shocks are more and more negative. Okay, if this direction is the direction of worse losses, this will be achieved when the values of F are in this direction. I mean worse than F star, more negative than F star. Okay, so to locate L star, what if I were to locate some F star from the distribution of F, which I know is the standard normal distribution? Let me locate that F star, the probability of whose being exceeded in this direction be equal to alpha. Okay, and this F star is very simply the norm S inverse of alpha. If I can locate this F star, then comes my second benefit of making this assumption, and that is I can write down the L star using the same template, using the same kind of formula which I used to write my EL. Okay, I would have written down my EL using a formula that looks something like this. The sum from I is equal to 1 to n of the exposure at default, the loss given default, and the unconditional probability of default. That would have been my EL. Okay, but because of this assumption, I can write down my L star using a formula which carries the same template with only a single change, and that change is that I'll be replacing the unconditional default probability, PDI, by a conditional default probability. Okay, a probability of default conditional upon F taking on a value which is F star. Okay, so this is the benefit of making this assumption. We get a mapping between losses and various values of F, number one. Number two, we are able to write down the formula for L star using the same template as the formula for expected loss. Okay, so we are more or less done, right? We can calculate EL, we can calculate L star using this formula, provided we know how to calculate the conditional probability of default. That's the only missing piece left, and that brings me to step 5. Okay, so step 5, the final step, is to calculate this conditional probability of default. To calculate this probability, let me bring you back to the one factor model. In this model, left hand side is U, right hand side has two random variables, F and Z. If I were to freeze the F, fix it to be F star, what is then the distribution of U? F is now fixed, it is F star. Let me actually write it as F star. U's distribution would then be solely driven by the distribution of Z. Okay, and that is the distribution which we are after. That is the conditional distribution of U. This green distribution, I have lifted it from here. It was the unconditional distribution of U. This orange distribution is the conditional distribution of U, conditional upon F taking the value F star. Okay, so if the green distribution was N01, the orange distribution is still normal with mean of AI times F star, because this guy has a 0 mean, so AI times F star, with a variance of this guy squared times the variance of this guy, which I know is 1. So variance of 1 minus AI squared. Okay, so this is my orange distribution. It's very simple. To compute the conditional probability of default, all I have to now do is to get the area underneath this orange distribution to the left of my threshold number UI star. Okay, the threshold is still UI star, but I am reading the probability from a different distribution. Okay, so what will my conditional probability of default be? It will be this area, which is very simply read from the standard normal distribution tables corresponding to, just standardize this UI star. So what is UI star? It was this guy. Okay, so let me write it. So N inverse of PDI. Okay, so how do I standardize this number? Take the number that minus the mean. So what is the mean of the distribution? AI F star. So let me write it. AI, what is F star? N inverse alpha. Okay, so the value minus the mean, that divided by the standard deviation, which is square root of this guy, 1 minus AI squared. Okay, so this is my conditional default probability. You can actually simplify things further. If all the A's are roughly the same, okay, let all the A's be roughly equal to some A. Okay, if that happens, come back to this formula. The correlation between any two U's will simply be equal to A times A, which is A squared, which tells me that A is equal to the square root of the common correlation between all the U's. Okay, so I can replace this guy by square root of rho. I can replace this guy by rho. This makes the formula even simpler. Okay, so if you have troubles, memorizing this formula, all this formula is about a conditional probability. Okay, picked from a normal distribution of a value which has been standardized. Okay, the value minus the mean divided by the standard deviation. Once I have the conditional probabilities of each of my n credits, I can feed these into this formula. I get my L star. If I were to use the unconditional probabilities in the same formula, I get my EL. The difference between the two is my VAR, and that is the credit risk capital which I was after. Okay, so this is the Vasicek model to calculate the credit risk capital.